Bueno, and welcome back, my fellow YouTubers. I know it's been a very long time since I've updated with anything in either one of my channels, my educational channel and my personal channel. I think the last one I submitted was my vacation to Guatemala, which was amazing. But on a more serious note, I decided to do this video because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I personally am a survivor of domestic violence. I was 21 when it happened. The relationship started when I was around 18. But it is a story that I have been wanting to share for a while. I just wasn't sure if I should share it or if I should speak on it, just because I had kind of already shared it on my blog. I don't know if any of you know that I do have a blog on my personal website. I write a lot of different stuff on there. One of them is the story that I'm about to tell you. But I felt that it was probably a good idea to share my story, especially since we are in a society now that's being more acceptant of males and females telling the stories of domestic violence, especially males speaking out more about it, because it does not only happen to women, even though statistically it's a higher rate on women than it is for men, but it does happen to both sexes. And it's not something to be taken lightly, no matter how extensive or how downplayed someone's personal story is, because it does affect you and it is carried along with you throughout your life. So that being said, I was 18 when I met this person. It was my first real relationship. I was infatuated by him. I thought he was perfect. I thought he was like so handsome, and you know, being that it was my first relationship, I didn't know anything to what it came to relationships. Not to say that he was overall, like, the relationship was not bad. It just turned bad. At first, obviously, you know, he was very sweet, very kind. He was very romantic and swept me off my feet. And it just gradually started mainly with verbal abuse. He would say certain things to me, or he would comment on my weight, or if someone else would comment on my weight, especially his family, they would laugh about it, or like he wouldn't defend me on it, or you know, just little things like that. And it kind of started to eat away a little bit at my self-esteem. I was already self-conscious about my weight back then, and it just wasn't a really nice thing to know. And it started kind of going with like him pushing me towards wanting to dress a certain way or be a little bit more sexier, and like his thing was he wanted me to be more confident in what I was wearing or how I was wearing it. But honestly, I felt that he was trying to put me in this character that I really wasn't comfortable with at the time, and he was trying to make me something or someone into someone that he maybe was more attracted to. I don't know. That's my take on it. That was what I thought was going on. So that just slowly, steadily started. It was like a lot of verbal abuse, there was a lot of fighting too, like yelling matches, to the point like we would just be yelling at each other in the car, and obviously that's not a healthy thing to do. But again, it was my very first relationship. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know the best ways to communicate, and we always learn from our mistakes. Not to say that I was perfect, because I was not perfect. I'm still not perfect, but there was just a lot of negativity in the relationship. It didn't really start until maybe, I want to say 6 months into the relationship, where I really kind of started like feeling it. Take it to another 6 months, maybe not even another 6 months, but pretty much just towards the first time he hit me. We were in my bedroom and we were discussing about something, and somehow the topic of his ex came up, and I started saying something like, well, if you think I'm so much like her, like, hit me then, just hit me. And me instigating it, I was like, well, then freaking hit me. And he closed his eyes, put his hand up, and slapped me right across the face. I was in shock and hurt physically and emotionally, and I told him just to get out of the house, like, don't ever come back, don't call me. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I don't want anything to do with you. So I walked him out, closed the door, and I was, went up to my room, started crying. After a good cry, I kind of started guilt tripping myself because I was like, well, I did instigate it. I did tell him, hit me. Maybe it was my fault. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have pushed his buttons for him to hit me and to react that way. So I started pulling that card on myself and was like, well, maybe it was my fault. Like, it maybe, you know, I did deserve to get hit because I instigated it. But I know now that regardless if I instigated it or not, it's still not the right thing to do. So he apologized, I forgave him, and we continued on like normal. Emotionally, he started kind of being very emotionally abusive to me again, like pointing out my weight, or just like I was focused on certain goals of my life or what I wanted to do at the time. I wanted to be a psychologist and I was studying to be a psychologist, but he kept wanting to push me towards doing like, oh, you should do party planning, you should do this, you should do that. So trying to mold me into something that I didn't want to be molded into, and he wasn't really supporting me in what I wanted to do. And not to say that he didn't support me, because there were days that he did, but overall I didn't feel I was very supported by what I wanted to do in life. And also it kind of started getting, again, verbally abusive. Working in retail, working retail, if any one of you has worked retail before, you know that the hours are long. There's no set time as to when you're going to get out, especially if you're doing a closing shift. Like, you can be set to a certain time, but until the store is clean, you are not leaving. And he, for some reason, did not get that concept, and I would be scheduled till 9 o'clock, and sometimes wouldn't leave until 11 o'clock. He'd be blowing up my phone while I'm closing the store, yelling at me like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you should be off right now. Like, you should have been off at 9. Like, who are you with? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, I'm at work. Like, I can't leave until everything's clean. Like, that's just how it works. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't leave. So by the time he would pick me up, he's like, this is bullshit. Like, he would literally like be yelling, and I'd be so embarrassed because like all my coworkers could see him, and I'm just like, just calm down. He's like, no, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is a waste of time. Like, what the hell are you doing? Does not take that long. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, I just wanted to get out of there. And in the car, we would argue a little bit more, or I would just stay quiet and just be like, I don't understand. Like, this is a constant battle of you arguing with me about picking me up late because I have to close. Like, if that's gonna be a problem, I might as well just drive myself. Like, there's no point in you waiting for me if you're just gonna be like this all the time. So that led up to it, and flash forward a little bit more to the second time he hit me. We were at a party, and he had driven to the party with me and my other girlfriend, and he had started drinking. Not to say, we were all drinking, but once I noticed that he had started drinking a little bit more, I stopped drinking because I was like, okay, there's a way we have to get home. So given, I stopped drinking so that way we can all get home sober and safe. I take his car, and my friend's also in the front seat. He's in the back seat. He's like incoherent, babbling about like me, like not wanting him, and just saying all this negative stuff about me and like our relationship. And my friend's in the front of the car kind of trying to like laugh it off and be like, oh, you're just drunk, playing it off as if he was just drunk. Next thing you know, he gets sick in the back of the car. So obviously I'm frustrated and annoyed because of all the stuff that he had been saying in the car, and to the fact that now he's sick, so now I have to clean up what's in the car. Pull over to the 7-Eleven, go inside, grab some napkins and the water, come back, and I'm trying to clean him off, and he's still like saying all this stuff to me, and I'm just like trying to clean him off, and all of a sudden, I honestly don't remember what he said or what his reaction was to the point that he hit me. He hit me across the face with my friend there in the front of the car. After he did that, I was just like, you know what, fucking do yourself. Excuse my language, that's what I said. I was like, fucking clean yourself up. Like, I'm done. I'm totally done. Like, that's it. And as if for what he said, he realized that it was me that was trying to clean him off. He thought it was someone else. And I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of this. Like, I'm tired of you treating me this way. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. And my friend was just like, no, just leave her alone. And at this point, I just want to go home. Like, I'm done with the night. I'm over it. And obviously he's drunk. And since I did drive with him, I was like, you know, I don't want to take his car because I don't want to see him the next day. So I dropped off his car, parked it. He went into his apartment, or sorry, his house. And, excuse me. And I ended up calling one of my best friends to come and pick me up. And when he came to pick me up, he saw that I had been crying and asked if me and him had gotten into a fight. I said yes, and that I was just over it. I'm done. I wanted to go home. He could see that something else had happened as well, and I couldn't get myself to say what else had happened because I was just so ashamed of it. And he asked me straight up, like, did he hit you? And I could not even look at him in the eye. I just turned my head and I was like, please just take me home. And I can just see that he just got so angry because he already knew what the answer was. And he took me home, and I thanked him and told him to please ask his girlfriend to forgive me for waking them both up, but that I was very grateful for him to take me home. And that was that. After that incident, I didn't speak for him for almost 2 weeks. What I thought I was done. I was like, I'm done. This is like, I don't deserve this. Like, this is not what I need in my life. I was gonna end it. Actually, I think maybe we did end it. I honestly don't remember, but I knew that was like at least 2 weeks we weren't speaking, and I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to see him, like nothing. But then again, there I go. He comes and wants to talk, and I give him yet another chance, which was not the best thing for me to do. So I gave him another chance, and things were good for a good amount of time, and then they got bad again. What really made me finally just be like, that's it, were my friends. Like, sorry if you guys hear my dog sneezing right now. But my friends were pretty much the ones that took me out of it. Patterns of people who are abusive, they want to isolate you, and they want to take those away from you that are the closest to you. And they will come up with anything, saying things like, I'm the only one that really cares. They don't really care about you. They're not your real friends. All they want you is to do this and to do that. And that's kind of exactly what he did. I had lost a lot of close friends of mine in the beginning because he had strategized to isolate me. And towards the end, when I started making more friends through work, he kept trying to say to me that these were not my real friends, that all they wanted to do was get drunk and party, and they only wanted to use me to go into parties and things like that. And I was just like, no, that's not it. They're actually real genuine people, and they care about me. And he would just get so angry every time I'd say, like, I want to be with my friends, or pretty much to the point, like, I wouldn't want to hang out with them, and if I didn't want to hang out with him, like, he would get angry. And they started coming to the parties with me, and they kind of saw what I had been going throughout the last like 2 to 3 years. And unlike other people, they responded to it, and they got in his face about it, or they would tell him, like, why do you feel you had to speak to her that way? Like, that's not right. And he would just kind of laugh it off, be like, oh, I'm just kidding. But I can see, like, deep in him, like, oh my God, he's angry. Like, I'm going to hear about this later. I'm going to get it later. But they were there to defend me, to have my back. And honestly, if it wasn't for them, I don't know what would happen. I don't know if I would have continued it longer, or if I'd be still in that situation today, or what. But if it wasn't for my friends, I would still be in that very toxic, abusive relationship. And I am so grateful to all of them, and they all know who they are. You guys are seriously saved me. You guys seriously saved me. Like, I don't know how I can put into words of how grateful I am, but you guys know who you are, and I've already expressed to you that I am so grateful for you guys for that. And because of them, I eventually built up the courage to break up with him. And I kind of gave him an ultimatum, just kind of towards that end of the like breaking point, we weren't talking very much anymore. He was like cutting off dates, or he wasn't just talking to me anymore. And finally I was like, you know what, do you even want this relationship anymore? Do you even want to be in this anymore? Because if you do, I will stay and we can work on this and try to make things better. But if not, like, this is it, I'm done. Like, there's no going back. Like, after this point, we are done. And that's pretty much what happened. He chose, he's like, I just don't love you anymore. You know, not to say that it didn't hurt, because it did hurt. But at the same time, I felt like this huge weight was lifted off of me and I was free. I did cry on the way home, but at the same time, I was just so happy to be free. Like, I did it, I escaped. I can like move on now, or so I thought. A few months, I want to say a few weeks to a few months after that, he had started stalking me. I would go out with my friends and my girlfriends to, you know, to go dancing or whatever it was. But say if I were to run into him in one of those nights, he'd be waiting for me at my house. Or if he knew that I had gone out somewhere, he would be waiting there for me at my house. And every single time, like clockwork, he would be waiting there. And every single time it's the same argument. Take me back, I love you, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, like, this is it, I'm done. And then he would just 360 it and go from being sorry to just being angry. And I just be like, I can't do this, like, I can't. And it was like that for a good few weeks. And I eventually one night went out with a group of friends, and I came home and I hadn't run into him that night. And I was like, great, like, this is gonna be another situation where I see him when I get home. I get home probably around 2 o'clock or so and fall asleep. And sometime during the night, I wake up, just out of nowhere. I wake up because I had this feeling like somebody was in the room with me. I wake up and look at the edge of my bed, and he's sitting there watching me sleep. It was the most frightening thing that I could wake up to. I didn't know what to do. I was in shock. I was like, how did you get into this house? Where did you come into? Like, how long have you been here? He had grabbed my phone and was like, I just want to talk to you. There's no other way for me to want to talk to you, and this is the only way I can think of. And surprisingly, I was very calm. Even though my heart was beating out of my chest, I was very calm. And I told him, okay, just give me back my phone. Let's go outside. I will talk to you. And it was a little bit of a discussion in the room, and I was trying to keep as quiet as possible because my parents were like 2 doors down, and I didn't want them to hear him, especially not my stepdad, because he kind of has a temper, and who knows how things could have turned if he would have known he was there. But we made our way back downstairs. I was being as quiet as possible. I was telling him to please be as quiet as possible. I'm heading to the front of the door, and he goes the other way, heading towards the kitchen. And I was like, I told you outside. Like, I want to talk to you outside. My whole point was for him to get out of the house. I wanted him out of the house just so I can lock the door and just, you know, have him outside. I didn't want him inside the house anymore. And he goes into the kitchen. He grabs a knife from the cutting board holder, and he holds it up, and my heart just stopped. I honestly thought in that moment that I was gonna die. I was so afraid. I didn't know what he was going to do. I didn't know if he was gonna come at me or if he was gonna harm himself, but I seriously have never felt that sort of fear in my life, and that is the worst moment that I can think of, that I've felt genuine fear like that. And I don't wish that upon anyone. I asked him, I was like, please put the knife down. What are you doing with the knife? And he just said, if you don't want to get back with me, I'm going to kill myself. And slowly I approached him, which till this day, I don't know why I approached him. Like, he could have easily just stabbed me with a knife. Like, and he grabbed the biggest one, of course. And I don't know, something inside of me was like, just be calm and just approach him. And I did. He had lowered the knife to his side. I got it out of his hand, kind of turned him away and like, let's go outside. I will talk to you outside. And knife out of the hand and put the knife back in the kitchen. I made sure he was in front of me walking out the door because I didn't want him behind me. And we walked out the door and he was like still on me, still had my phone in his hand. And so I walked out with him. We're outside. We start arguing again. I try to take my phone away from him. He just grabs my hand, starts punching at my hand, and just like kind of just punching at it. And my flight or fight mode kicks in and I throw a punch back. And he kind of like, he starts getting very physical with me, and I try to take it away from him again. And for some reason, we cooled off and sat there for a little bit. And this whole time I told him, like, you come near me, I'm going to call 911. If you want to talk, we'll talk, but do not come near me because I have 911 dialed and I will call them. For the life of me, I did not call. Don't ask me why. Till this day, I don't know why. But we were there for a good maybe 5 minutes or so. And I finally wanted to get up. He said something that I just was angry about. And I got up and I was just like, you know what? This is done. Like, I'm sorry, but we're done. Like, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't love you anymore. It's just, we're done. And he came up to me and he said to me, okay, censor earmuffs here for those of you, if you wish to listen. It's going to get pretty graphic. He comes up to me, puts his hand on my vagina, cups it, and says, this will always be mine. With that, I slapped him, pushed his hand away, turned around, and started to kind of run / power walk up my driveway. He comes up behind me, grabs me from behind. He grabs me like this with his elbow and his arm, and all my senses kick in, and I just kind of, elbow him like this straight in the face because his face was over here. I elbowed him straight up into his nose, which makes him go blind, from the pain. And I run inside the house, lock the door, and just, out of breath, my heart's beating. I'm kind of hyperventilating because I couldn't believe what had just happened. And my sister comes down the stairs and she heard everything. She heard everything from her room and asked me if she wanted me to call the police. I literally, my knees gave out, broke down onto the ground, and I told her that yes, please call the police. The whole time I was standing by the door thinking that he was going to come and knock again or something, but he actually went back to his car. He was sitting there in his car while my sister was calling the police. I was crying. I was hysterical. I was in shock, and all my adrenaline had already escaped me, and my sister was just keeping him updated as to like where he was. About maybe 10-12 minutes later, they catch him up on the street on the top and they arrest him. And then they come to my house and take my story as to all the events that had happened, and pretty much told them what had happened. They took pictures of me, took pictures of my hand. My hand was already swelling up because of the bruise. I had a scratch on the side of my face because of me defending myself. And I had a little bit of like a little small bruise like right here on the side of my face. And my pinky, it was swollen, but I noticed the next day that it was kind of broken because of me trying to defend myself and punching him. So they took the report and everything. My parents eventually woke up and they were surprised to know what had happened. My mother was in shock, and they never knew exactly what type of relationship I was in. They knew that they didn't really like him. They didn't know about the emotional and physical abuse I had gone through. This is another thing about physical and any type of abuse or domestic abuse. You don't really tell the person, or at least for my case, I felt that people were going to judge me, or people were going to think I'm stupid or that it was my fault because I had, allowed it. And it wasn't. I mean, generally it's not that. And it's one of the hardest things to get through because you're so emotionally drained and so emotionally, deteriorated, and your ego goes down, your self-esteem is down. You have been isolated from these people who have cared about you and who do care about you, and you just feel so alone. And you feel that even though this relationship is bad, that this is the best that you can do. And because they tell you that this is the best that you can do, you believe it. And if it wasn't for my friends, I probably wouldn't have had the confidence or the strength to really be done with it. And that's really what was that. And yeah, I mean, a few months later, I got into the trials, and I got a criminal restraining order on him for 3 years. And he was, with any restraining order, you're not able to talk to people. You can't contact them, like no contact, nothing at all. And if, his counselor would go ahead and call me every so often to see if he was compliant with the restraining order. There were times that he wasn't. And, I was offered therapy to kind of help myself cope with what I went through and the situation that I went through. And I denied it. I was like, no, I'm okay. I have my family, my friends, this and that. And long story short, the abuse does not define who I am. It has not defined me. It has actually made me a stronger person and has helped me look for the red flags a lot sooner. There's a lot of stuff that I don't put up with because of what I went through. And there's a lot of things that I advocate for because of survivors like me, and for those who are going through domestic abuse or domestic violence. There is help, whether it's with a close friend, a family, an anonymous line. I know it's really hard to put yourself in there. I know you constantly feel like you're at danger and you have no one else to reach for, but there is someone out there. And I know it's easier said than done, trust me, because I've been there. And I know some cases are worse than mine. And it's just, we're all emotionally just deteriorated. We all go through the same process of isolation, of emotional abuse, of thinking that we deserve what we're getting. And it doesn't define us. If you have the courage and if you have the right resources of people around you, they will help you find your way out, and they will help you no matter what. Those sources are there to help you. And that's all I want people to get out of this, that the abuse does not define me. It is not who I am. Because of it, I am stronger, and I don't pull up bullshit. That's pretty much it. I don't put up with it, but it does still affect me to this day. I have been going to therapy because of it, and along with other things that have happened in my life. But I did realize last year, and I was recently contacted by this person out of nowhere after almost 10 years of not having contact with this person. I don't know why, but after that moment, I realized, those demons were still in me, and I didn't like how it made me feel. And I realized I hadn't really tackled that demon full on. I kind of, try to amend myself with it, and for the most part I did, but there are other things there that I am still working on. I do have emotional walls up when I meet someone new, and I try to explain my situation of the past to them just so they know where I'm coming from, and that it's nothing to do with them, it's all something to do with me. And for me, it just takes a longer time for me to be emotionally connected to someone. And when I am emotionally connected to someone, I start to form a sort of trust. And if something tells me not to trust you, it's done. Or I'm very lenient on not giving a second chance. That's just kind of my personal wall that I have been working through, and I believe I have been getting better at it. The best thing that I can take away from what my therapy has taught me is that to be expressive of what I'm feeling, to not feel that my feelings don't matter, and to be okay in feeling what I'm feeling, that it's totally fine. We are meant to feel what we are meant to feel, and we all go through our own process differently, and it's okay to ask for help. It's always okay to ask for help. So that's kind of my story, my background. It kind of got a little personal there for you. I didn't go into all the little details because there's just so much details into it. But if you do want to read some more details of how that relationship did go, I will put my website link at the bottom to specifically that that blog post as to like kind of more of extension of what happened during that time in that relationship. And I also put links to sources for domestic violence hotlines and just sources in general. It's never too late to get help, and I just wanted you guys to know that, and I wanted to share a little piece of my story, and I hope my little piece of my story helps somehow. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and I will see you all a little later. Adios. Oh, and don't forget to follow, subscribe, leave a comment, like, or if you have anything to say, or have a personal story that you wish to share, just go ahead and message me on my personal social media pages. You can DM me, and I will try to respond if I can. So thanks again for watching this far out, and I will talk to you guys later. Adios.